Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Wolves Report. I'm Ryan Lester, and thank you for joining us for episode 149. Look how festive we are. Merry Christmas. Tonight we have got Old Gold Packs Nui joining us. We've got our club captain, Mark Narkin, on with Ryan Lester, your host. We're going to talk about the 2-0 home defeat to Brentford to give our player and match analysis. I'm going to talk about Jeff Shee's departure, take some of your questions, and look ahead to Liverpool. There's lots of other stuff as well. Things are going to go zigzag all over the place, but unfortunately, we've got to talk about Wolves in the game. So, first up, Nocky, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0, Brentford 2.
Oh, it was bad, wasn't it? It was bad. It was probably the worst of the season, in my opinion, because of how desperate we were, how lacking in quality we were. I mean, we weren't up against Real Madrid or Barcelona here, where we were up against a side who've won, one away game, lost 7 so far this season, and they were comfortable. First half, they were comfortable. They didn't score. There wasn't a great deal in the game, but I think they had all the chances. Second half, they just took full control and dominated us, really. And there was so much wrong with that performance. There was so much in terms of things we didn't do well and things that we stopped doing. And I mean, you look at Keane Lewis Potter. I mean, he hasn't scored a goal, I think since January was his last goal, but he was running the show. So rather than actually track him, we just left him alone to wander around and do whatever he wanted, and he controlled the game. We didn't pick up the runners. We didn't dominate midfield. We didn't have a grip of the game. We didn't have a clear system of working. I didn't understand the lineup, how Strand Larsen still gets into that team. I'm very close to putting Rob Edwards on the naughty list just for that. There's just such a lack of quality throughout the squad. And I think when you see Doherty's comments afterwards, and I know we'll probably talk about that later, you can probably see who that's aimed at. But it was just a collective calamity again. And I think what hurt me the most was the lack of fight in the team. I can accept losing football matches. If you can't, then you probably shouldn't be following Wolves. But I think there's an acceptable way to lose. And that wasn't it for me. As soon as the first goal at the back of the net, they gave up. They stopped playing. The heads dropped. They just wanted to be off that pitch as quick as they could. And that's unacceptable. There's a minimum requirement at the moment, and that's to work and to fight and to just show a little bit, maybe go and deck someone. All right, we might pick up a few yellow cards and a few red cards, but at least you're going to show a little bit of fight and a little bit that you want it and that it's hurting you. And the only player I looked at and thought he was actually hurting was Doherty, and probably Mane when he came on because he ran his socks off. But yeah, really, really disappointing. Every time you think it can't get worse, it somehow manages to.
Great start, Nocky. Nui, you see a lot of sort of people around and people talking about effort, as Nocky said then. If I asked all those players, and that had to be really truthful, did they all leave it all out there? I'm far from convinced that they did at all. Now, I know the club media will say something else. I'll talk about what Lee Naylor commented on the sort of the mini podcast afterwards. Mikey Burrows was excellent with these questions, but I would certainly question some of Lee Naylor's answers. I don't see a team that's fully playing for the fans, for the badge, for the manager, or even themselves.
No, I completely agree. Just lackluster again, and it's that whole thing of it just feels like an effort having to even feel like you're G'ing them up to do anything. First half, I don't think was terrible, but it's not. It was never going to light anything up for anybody. It was never going to excite anybody. And then it's that same old story of get to 60 minutes and everything just falls over, and that the goal goes in, the players' heads drop instantly. There's more murmurs and boos around the stadium, rightfully so. I'm not going to say that we shouldn't be booing because the players just aren't playing. And you know what? I've been really defensive of the players, and with everything else that's going on with all the protests and stuff, I've been really defensive about. Look, we're here to back the lads. We're here to back Rob Edwards, and we want to see them do well, and that's the God honest truth. But there's only so far that you can go when the players just don't look like they're arsed in the slightest. And it started getting to that point towards the end of the game when I'm sure we'll talk about the Strand Larsen penalty pass, whatever it was, at some point. But he's got to that point where he's become the villain, unfortunately. Petulant, throwing his hands up in the air at things, and perhaps he isn't getting the service. But yeah, it's just not a nice time to be going down the Molineux and watching the football. And there's only so far that I can keep kind of defending Rob Edwards and the players and trying to back them as much and saying that they're not necessarily the problem when they're starting to become the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how everyone saw it, but I'm going to sort of talk briefly about Lee Naylor's comments now. Now, Lee's entitled his opinion, as we all are. I mean, there was the mini podcast after the game, which was good. I thought Mike Edwards was really good on it, as he always is. I think Lee Naylor talks about 21 matches without a Premier League win. He said up until the 63rd minute, we were okay, we were good. I didn't see that, Lee. I saw a team in the first half that were scared, that were terrified, that were probably holding on. We didn't look like the team that was winning the game. We looked... In the first half, it was organised, it was there to spoil. And I respect that. That's fine. But there has to be a bit going the other way. And there wasn't. He went on to say, if I went to support my team, I'd never boo them. He said, we're still in the Premier League. Booing sounds like you've given up. And he says, I love this club and I want them to do well, not just because my mate is at the helm. I know that booing on the sideline doesn't help at all. Now, I understand if your mate's in charge, you don't want them to boo. That's completely fine. But I've got to be honest, I couldn't disagree more. Nocky, you're paying out an absolute fortune. You're going with your lad. You're going with your dad. I'm going with my mom. Nui, you go with various people. We're all paying out of money. If people want to show their disapproval, they're allowed, aren't they?
Yeah, but let's not forget they're still turning up week in, week out. And you can tell that those fans are desperate to back the players. They're desperate to support them. They're desperate to get going. And when that first ball hit the back of the net, there was a slight murmuring of boos, but then straight after that, they're singing all the old songs. And there's no criticism of players or no abusing players. They're trying to get behind them and they're desperate to. But when you're putting in performances like that, and I tweeted after the game that we're bad and we know we're bad, but we're not 2 points from 17 bad. We can only achieve that kind of points tally if they're not putting it in and they're hiding and they're not doing the things that they were doing. And you talk Strand Larson, and I feel like I'm kind of digging him out most of the time, but he feels like the pantomime villain at the moment because he's so lazy and all right, he's not getting the service at the moment, but that doesn't mean you can't challenge for headers. That doesn't mean you can't try and run into space. That doesn't mean you can't physically try and dominate your opponent. He did absolutely nothing. And then when Tolu comes on, first thing he does is win a header and the whole South Bank goes up because he's done something that you want to see from your centre forward. So personally, I don't boo the players. I'd rather just sit there and be frustrated and boo them. But I can completely understand why other people would, because it is such a devastating scenario we're in at the moment. And we're on 2 points, and that it's, for me and my lad, it's cost me over £1,000 for a season ticket, and it's my choice to go. And it's absolutely my choice and everybody's choice whether you want to watch them or not. But it's still my football team, and if I'm going to go and I'm going to pay and I'm going to go and sit there and watch that, the minimum I expect from the team is effort and a bit of fight. And I'm not seeing that at the moment. And with the butt of everybody's jokes, everyone's laughing at us with the most. I think you've got to go 8 divisions down to find a team with a similar record to us. It's the worst start of any football team since, 1888? And Lee Naylor's saying we shouldn't be critical of the team. I think he maybe needs to give his head a little bit of a wobble and realise that he gets free entry into the ground, he gets to commentate, he gets paid to do so. And I love Lee Naylor. I absolutely love watching him play for Wolves, and I was behind the goal when he bent that lovely free kick into the top corner against Stoke. He was one of them players that was always 100%. But that doesn't give you the right to come on and tell us how we should support our football team. When they start working, we'll keep backing them, because we're already backing them at the moment. You can see that by the attendances. You can see that by the songs that are still coming down from the stand. So I think he just needs to be a little bit careful in what he's saying at the moment, because Molyneux's a little bit of a powder keg, and stuff like that can cause a little bit of a spark. So, yeah, I'm not happy with those comments. I think he's bang out of order.
No, it's some strong stuff from Nocky, but it's hard to disagree. Like you said, it's different. I guess if you know the players, the manager, you might see things differently. But Wolves fans are currently watching one of the worst teams ever start to a season ever in football history. We spent over £100 million on garbage. There's no results. There's no real performances. Yeah, there was a bit of heave-o at Villa and a bit of heave-o and a hard look at Arsenal. But at Molyneux, there is nothing. And I just find those kind of comments, for me, there's just a real lack of understanding of what it means to be a football fan and how this feels.
I hadn't heard those comments until now. You've ruined my Christmas, mate. It's really annoyed me, the fact that he's got the balls to be able to come out and say that when he's invited in and he's, like Nocky said, paid to give his opinion, and his mates at the helm. It's shocking. I don't understand where he wants us to kind of back them anymore in everything that we're doing. We're still singing songs. We're still showing up. We're still doing everything that we should, and we want to back the team. So to say that booing and showing your displeasure at what's going on, especially in the second half, 2 goals within 20 minutes, and then the pass to their goalkeeper from Strand Larson. It's just not good enough. But the players need to start giving everything back. Edwards is saying all the right things in his pre-matches, and that he's saying, we're having really good week in training, that we're starting to show some kind of stuff. But then it seems that as soon as they step out, at least at Molineux, I mean, it'd be interesting to see. What happens at Anfield on Saturday. But I'm not sure that I buy into the whole Molineux versus going away and performing better away.
I think it's an excuse, to be honest. No way.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm not sure I buy into it. Like I said, be interested to see how it goes. But the players, if anything, should feel confident being at Molineux. But the trouble is, and I don't want to dig out specific players here, but I don't think half of them want to be there. I think they've realised that they're down. They've realised that they're in a battle. Some of them don't even want the battle. They're not bothered. Like, they do not care. They know that they're going to be playing somewhere else next season. And that's the main problem that we've got here. So, yeah, it's looking more and more that, like, Rob Edwards made the wrong choice here, because I'm not sure that the players that he's got in are the ones to kind of help him out. And he's the only one that's really giving everything and showing everything at the end of the game, doing laps of the pitch. You can tell that he's bought into this and that he's in it for the long term. And that's absolutely fine. But those players just aren't along for the ride with him.
Yeah, I understand that people want to say, and I agree with you. Rob Edwards, to me, says the right things. Rob Edwards generally cares. I think he played most of his playing career at Wolverhampton Wanderers. He's a player that played and left everything out there. Was he always good? No, but he absolutely did everything. And I believe that's him as a manager as well. Whether he's going to be a good enough manager remains to be seen. But as I think Nocky said earlier on, we want to back this team, but you've got to give us something. At the moment, yeah, I'm not sure even half of you are giving absolutely everything. You're not coming off there exhausted, dripping in sweat. You're not squaring up to people. You're not decking anyone. You're not kicking someone to make yourself feel better, like Roy Keane says. Who's taking responsibility? Where's the bravery? Now, talking about mentality, Molineux's difficult because they're under pressure. These are elite athletes playing Premier League football, earning obscene amounts of money. Now, I say obscene. You know what? You're worth what you paid, so I'll retract that. So they got the contracts. These are elite athletes. They should have elite mentality. Don't tell me you're frightened of playing at Molineux. You want enormous money. Go and earn your money. Go and show that you care. That's my opinion. Tell me I'm wrong, guys.
No, Molineux's soft now, though, as well. I mean, there's not half the bile they used to be. They're priced out a lot of the voices, so it's pretty soft. You don't get anywhere near what you would expect. I mean, last time we got relegated and then ended up in League One, there was a giant pitch invasion. They smashed at the dugout. I'm not saying for a second I want that to happen. Obviously, I don't. But that's the kind of danger you were in back then, whereas now it's very, very soft. I think they're getting a very easy ride at the moment. And even at the end of games, there's still fans staying behind and clapping them. So I don't buy that as an excuse. I just think Newey's absolutely right. They don't want to be there. And Doherty kind of hinted at that, didn't he? That you could take the coward's way out and leave, or you could stay and fight. And then 2 days later, Strand Larsen's linked with a move to West Ham. So you can see who these are aimed at. And look, I don't care who goes. I've got no relationship with any of these players. I've got no connection with them at all. I genuinely don't care who goes. I'd like to see Tolu stay, and I'd like to see Mane get more minutes and stay, obviously, and he's not going to go. But the rest of them, I genuinely couldn't care less who goes. And that's the first time I've probably ever felt like that about a team. And even when we got relegated and we ended up in League One, I didn't have this level of frustration with the players or annoyance, because I felt that they were doing the best they could. And if you get relegated and you've given it a go and you've gone down swinging, that's fine. But if you're going to go down the way that we're going down by collapsing, I mean, I get Rob Edwards is new into this now, and yes, he's lost his first 6, but I don't think he's blameless in all of this. I mean, if you look at every game we've had, we've been level at half time, and every game we've folded in the second half. That's nothing that hasn't been addressed as of yet. He's not done anything about that, and he's making the decisions of who's starting. He's deciding that he's keeping Strand Larsen on the pitch. He's deciding that even after Tolu's banged in a brilliant header against Arsenal, he's going to get 15 minutes in a game that we're losing. So he's not blameless in all this, but the players have to take the majority of the responsibility, because they're the ones who are badly letting us down. And I know you've said that you're worth what you get paid. If you can genuinely tell me that Strand Larsen's worth that pay rise that he's got, and he's showing that after he scored 14 goals last season, and this season he's got 1, and that's from a penalty, then I can't agree with that at all. I think that you you might be getting paid that money, but you've got to earn it. Otherwise, you end up in the situation he's in where the fans are after him now. Because the fans aren't going after Tolu. They're not going after even Hwang because he showed a bit in that first half. He ran his socks off. But when you see a player not putting in that level of performance and not putting that effort in as the minimum requirement, you're going to get a bit of stick for it. So you kind of made a rod for your own back. But also, you're kind of forcing your move away, aren't you? So I don't know. Maybe it's a tactic.
This is episode 149 of the Wolves Report with Old Gold, Pax Nui, Mark Knock, and myself, Ryan Lester. Briefly talk about the game. We'll go quickly. There's loads of other stuff to talk about. I think we've done this match report 100 times, haven't we, guys? So, I mean, for me, I don't really see anybody. I'm not going to go through the team. I can't face doing that again. What I would say is that Jose Sarr kept it reasonably respectable. I thought he had an excellent second half when he did various blocks and stops. I thought Doc was okay. I don't know what was happening with Ladislav with the goal when it bounced. Hoover, I've got to be honest, if I never saw him again, that'd be too soon. The Brazilians weren't themselves. Strand Larsen was very good. Hwang tried, but he was terrible. I mean, and that's my full match report, boys. If you can give me any more positives than that, and that is my positive take, then feel free.
What's your thoughts on Fer Lopez, both of you? Where do you stand with him at the moment?
I think Fer Lopez is clearly a talented footballer. But I think there's a talented footballer that needs 12 months of men's football first. So he's a late bloomer. He's gone into the Spanish league. He's broke into the second half of the season, scored a couple of nice goals, some nice assists. He can clearly play football. For me, though, he's just not experienced enough. I just think don't think he's got enough time. He strikes me as one of those players that's probably going to suit the Spanish league probably a little bit better than the Premier League. I might be proven wrong, Nui, but I think there's a talented footballer there. I'm just not sure he's a Premier League footballer.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think there is definitely talent there. I just don't think he's strong enough right now to deal with first of all the pace, but then the actual taking a touch and being knocked off the ball. It's just too easy at the moment. But it's not something that isn't trainable or isn't something that he can change. So I do believe that there is a footballer in there, but we just haven't got the time right now to be able to kind of wait for that, and that's another one of the struggles that we've got. I thought Sarr was decent, to be fair, although again, like a real frustration that I noticed in the first half was he was getting the ball and he was looking for outlets constantly to get the ball moving really, really quickly. Nobody was there for him. Nobody was getting into space. Nobody was opening up. So that was really frustrating. Doc, I thought he was all right again, but he's quickly becoming, especially after that interview, potentially the leader, although some would argue that isn't what a leader should come out and do. I'll leave you your own opinions to that. Hwang, for the first time in a while, looked like he was given something, so I've got no real huge complaints with that because it's more than he's done most of the season whenever he's been there. Jorgen, without sounding like I'm going to dig him out, I just don't know what he's doing, to be honest. Like he just doesn't look interested, and like his biggest regret will be not getting that move to Newcastle.
Just one thing on Larsen, and again, it sounds like we are digging him out, but you know what? He's our second highest paid player, but on that kind of money, as Nocky says, I expect a lot better. Has your service been reduced? Are you getting less quality? Yes. Doesn't mean you can't perform when you do get those chances, though, and you can't offer a little bit more. I think he's getting knocked off the ball. He's not winning a lot of headers. There was a little bit of link play when he came deeper. That was okay, but that's all you offered. No, I mean, how many shots you're getting off? What positions you're getting into? I just didn't see anything at all. And I've got to be honest, Nocky, that penalty is unforgivable. That's a penalty you take when you're 3-0 up, right, and you're scoring for your brace or your hat trick, and you go in a poor casual. That shoulder stutter drop when you've got no confidence, okay? It was like 2 foot off the middle. It was pathetic. There's 2 rules in penalties. If you're confident, find your corner. If you're not confident, lean over it with your laces and leather it down the middle. He did neither. And for me, that shows attitude. That shows such a terrible, terrible attitude that you can go up in front of the main stand and be casual and think you're the big man doing that. Really poor for me.
Yeah, it's one of them with a penalty. You've got to be relatively brave to step up and take it. And if it goes in, we just think it's a wonderful penalty.
It's his job.
But well, it is, yeah. But when you look at, I don't know if you saw Victor Gyökeres's penalty, I think it was yesterday. He hadn't scored for a while, so he absolutely leathered it and he smashed it into the top corner. But you just make sure, don't you? And when you're on a player who's only got 1 goal this season, that was from a penalty, you expect him to just put his laces through it, and if he saves it, then there's not a great deal you can do about it. It was so casual, and the stutter just almost telegraphed exactly where he was going to put it. It was dreadful, and his performance summed up in one little penalty. It was lethargic, it was lazy, it was simple, and it was almost like, I don't really want to take this, but I'll do it because I'm the penalty taker. It sums up his season, really.
At least look like you want to score it. There was just no. When he picked up the ball, saying to the people around me, there was a couple of people in front of me going, "Oh, he'll score this," and I was like, "I hope he does," but he won't. And then when the stutter, I was like, "Why are you doing that?" Just smash it. Old school penalty, just smash it. And then at least, like you said, if it's saved, then at least nobody can complain that
he's not showed any conviction.
No, honestly, it looked like it was the biggest thing that he had to do all night, like the hardest thing that he had to do all night. When, let's be honest, it was probably one of the most simple things. And yes, it does take balls to be able to stand up there in front of the main stand when you're getting dog's abuse over the last few weeks. But there's one way to shut them up. Score your goals, mate. Put some effort in. And I'm sorry, but he deserves everything that he gets after that penalty. And I don't know what he was thinking.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. And I'm sure I've read a tweet tonight that Wolves were asking 40 million for him. I know people have Christmas wishes, but Wolves are not getting 40 million. I think if Wolves are in a situation when they probably get their money or make a little bit more and the loan fee back, then I think they'll take, obviously, it's early negotiations. So,
I think they'll get close to that. I think if it's West Ham, I think it'll be a loan and then probably an obligation to buy because of their financial situation.
We can't be loaning anybody. We can't be doing no Adama business again.
No, that's what I think they'll do because of West Ham's situation. But if you were to look at him last season, 14 goals, if you can spend £40 million on a player who scored 14 goals, you'd take someone's hand off for that. So I think somebody will pay it because they'll have the assumption that he got the ump after the Newcastle deal fell through. He doesn't really want to be here. And rightly or wrongly, you give him a fresh start somewhere else. I think you'll see a player again. I think you'll see the old Strand Larsen come back. And it is wrong because it's almost you're getting what you want on that. But I think someone will pay 40 million for him.
I'll be delighted. But what concerns me more about what we get for him is how that money's reinvested next season. That's a bigger concern than anything else. Do I believe that Wolves will get a couple of £100 million for the key players in this squad when 5 or 6 of them go? Yeah, I do. But what worries me, which is probably for another episode, is how they reinvest it. This is episode 149 of the Wolves Report with Newey, Mark Knock, and myself, Ryan Lester. I think that's enough of the game, isn't it, boys? Yeah, please, let's talk. Let's forget about that. So, Friday evening, you're enjoying your Guinness, you're minding your own business, and then Wolves drop a bomb. Nathan Shee's to be appointed as an interim executive chairman of Wolverhampton Wanderers Football Club. Jeff Shee has stepped down from his role as executive chairman. He will remain chairman of the CEO of the Folkestone Sports Group and will have no operational duties relating to Wolves. Your take on the departure of Jeff Shee, Newey?
About time, to be completely honest. Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is something that we've been wanting for a long time. I think before all the process started and before everything else that was going on, this was something that I've been calling for personally for a very long time. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not convinced that he's properly gone. I don't know whether it's that paranoia that he's still going to be there lurking in the background trying to make these decisions, or that Nathan is going to be his kind of puppet. But I'm glad to see the back of him at Molineux at least, and I hope that is the last that we see of him down there, and I think it will be. So yeah, good riddance to me. I think the lack of promises. I mean, I could talk all night just about this subject, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, the lack of promises, the lack of investment, the lack of wants, the pushing of esports and not investing that back into the club, the numerous things that he did that didn't actually kind of pay it for us. And then his quote in that statement as well, saying that he's taken us to a global force or something along those lines.
He can only have written his own statement, to be honest, because only he can believe that, do you know what? And I have to say it because I try and be balanced and fair. As much as I'm angry Wolves and a lot of things that's going on, we've seen our best years under Fosun, but equally, as a result of the incompetence, we could be about to see some of our worst if it doesn't go on. So am I grateful for a brilliant promotion, Jota, Neves? I am. Am I grateful for Europe FA Cup? I am. But since that European season, we have been going down. And as Nocky says, we've been circling the drain and the inevitable has come. Lots of good people have left the football club, lots of talent, lots of players haven't been replaced, they've been downgraded, unfortunately, with poor recruitment. And if you continue to have an in-out, people leaving all over the place, losing some of your best staff, it's eventually going to hurt you everywhere. And we're now facing the result of this poor ownership.
And I think just one other thing to talk about, obviously I'm very grateful for the European times. However, in Jeff Shee's word, and I said this last week or 2 weeks ago on this podcast, we were lucky in Jeff's view to have that. The only thing that I'm really gutted about is that we didn't get the chance, or I didn't get the chance to question him in person and give him some of the questions that, you know, some of the fan base have been wanting to ask him for a long, long time. And it feels a little bit like he's potentially taken the easy way out because he knew the pressure was kind of building, and you know, there was a lot of people that wanted to get in front of him and ask him some of these questions. So I'm gutted from that point of view because there's going to be a lot of stuff that's left unanswered, I think. But let's see what Nathan kind of brings in. Let's see if it is interim. Let's see what their plan is, because there's so many more questions that have come from this that I'm unsure of, that we all need answers to. And we need to see what Fosun's plan is, because right now it just feels like it's a shuffling of the deck chairs, if I'm completely honest with you.
Yeah, it may well be a shuffling of the deck chairs. Who knows? Only time will tell. But Nocky, this is a welcome move. We've seen someone that's promised us a new stadium, from promising us a new stadium to then sort of blaming the council for not having a new stadium. It's quite a turnaround in that. Some of the decisions, the alleged sacking of Vitor Pereira via WhatsApp is something that's been doing the rounds. This kind of behaviour isn't acceptable. There's various managers, and I think the Spanish, is it Guillem Balaguer, basically said, I think he tweeted out about like the chairman lying to Lopetegui. How much of this, if that's coming out, how much of that was going on behind the scenes? So for me, Nocky, it's long overdue. I think Fosun have showed that they care to a degree by doing it. However, I do think this move, it's not going to save Wolves, it's too late, but it's way too late for me. But it's the first step up the ladder.
It's a start, isn't it? And I think what it's also shown is that the protests worked, whether you were for them or against them, because what it did was force him out of hiding, and it forced him to take an interview with a very, very clever interviewer who got that information out of him. And it's probably the first time he's had to actually face someone with that level of intelligence and acumen who could kind of drive those answers from him. And not, his intent wasn't to make him look stupid. It was to get an honest response from him, which he got. And that's buried him, hasn't it? Because the incompetence was just clear for everybody to see. And I echo what you've said. I've had some fantastic years under Jeff Shee and under Fosun, and some of those memories I'm going to take with me. But the reality is we're going to end up in a position now where we're financially worse off. We're going into a league campaign probably expecting another relegation battle, and that's because of incompetence from Jeff Shee and those around him. So I don't know anything about Nathan Shee. I've had a quick look at him, and it seems to be that he probably knows even less about football than Jeff Shee. So he's going to have to surround himself with football people or suffer the same fate. But it's a start. It shows that the process has made an impact. It shows that Fosun still has a level of care about Wolves, because it's obviously hurt them what's gone on, and they've tried to do something about it. So maybe there's something we can kind of hold on to now going into what's going to be a difficult few months for us. But it's a start, and he needed to go, and it's given us a little bit of a foothold now to think there could be a potential future for us.
No, just another shout out to these obviously protests. I mean, these weren't the ones on Saturday. These weren't the ones for the protests, but these were the sort of continued work of the old goal pack, which I was delighted to be part of on Saturday. So thank you for having me a part of that. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and bless my mom for being part of the rebellion as well. So yeah, I'm chuffed about that. But just going back on the main subject of the protests. I know you got a lot of stick. Some of the podcasts got a lot of the groups, but we stepped forward, we followed you, we went together. And it just shows, again, I can't emphasize enough how powerful a fan base can be if it unites. On a couple of days' notice, thousands of people didn't take their seats. The world was talking about it. Sky Sports, the world's feed, thousands of people were outside Molineux. There was chants, there was interviews, it was in every newspaper. And because of that, of what Nike said, because of that, it's forced someone to come out and talk. It's forced him to face the public. And whether we like it or not, whether it sounds cruel, I think most people know or knew how that interview would go. Now, did you want him to come out and talk? As I said on the last week's show, I'm not going to criticise him for coming out forward because that's what we've wanted. However, he's just exposed himself as being nowhere near to the level what we needed. And some of those answers were quite astonishing. And for me, that's where it must have ended. Imagine what Fosun HQ were thinking when the guy that owns the football club, that runs the football club, says, it doesn't really matter. They're just words. Championship, Premier League, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But for me, Nui, about that, sorry, on that final bit, for me, he's exposed his own thinking because to him, it didn't matter. That's the point there. For me, he didn't care what division we're in. Obviously, the rest of us do. But for him personally, he's got his esports, he's got his Sudo, he's got his the other sort of side hustles. So for me, he's actually accidentally told the truth and said, I don't really give a shit what division we're in because we're doing all this stuff. That's how I feel.
Yeah, and I think that he didn't necessarily understand or care about how angry the fan base actually felt. And I think until we were actually able to bring this together and show that actually there's a lot more of us. It's not just what you read on Twitter. It's not what you just read on Molineux Mix or that you see on other socials. It's not just a handful of people that thought that you weren't doing a great job, Jeff. It's the majority of the fan base.
That's what he liked to paint, isn't it? Oh, it's just social media. It was just noise.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that was one of the things around. Okay, well, how do we show that it's a lot more than what it is? And you know what? There was a lot that went around, and there was a lot of kind of scare tactics that were coming from lots of different people around. If you're going to do a protest or you're going to do this, then you need to make sure you've got approvals from the police, and you need to make sure that you've got all of this, and just things that kept delaying the decision to actually go ahead and do something. And it wasn't until that Thursday or Friday night before we did the Man United's 15-minute boycott. It wasn't until then that I just went, we need to do something. Like let's just make a decision. We're doing it. And if we end up, getting in a load of bother, which I never really thought that we would, but if we do end up getting in a load of bother, then so be it. It's for the better of our club, and hopefully that, something will happen out of the back of it. And, I'm really proud actually that, we've kind of got what the first part of what we wanted out of this, and it started a conversation, not just kind of locally, but nationally and worldwide. There's so many people talking about the Jeff Shee embarrassment, and actually some really big names within the press kind of calling out some of the stuff that he's done, which we haven't really seen. We haven't really seen in Fosun's tenure. So it was really good to see that. And let's not beat about the bush here. It is those conversations and those press articles and those pictures and everything that's come out that have caused that Fosun to sit up and go, actually, we have got a bit of a problem here. What can we do about it? I've still got lots of questions around Jeff owning Fosun Sports Group and being CEO of that, and what that actually means for the long term stuff of our club. But again, it was really heartening to see so many of these kind of posters up and about in Molineux, and I sit in the South Bank, and I was kind of surrounded by them, and there was scatterings of them all around the ground. And as we were handing them out outside the subway before the game, there was so many people that had already brought their own, and that were so proud to some huge versions of
it was I was on the Billy Wright side, Nui, and I was handing them out, and people were like, no, I printed some at home, and it's just like, this is great. People are really seeing what the difference that people could make. Now on Saturday, this was obviously all about a statement, a togetherness. This is our club. Do you know what I mean? Almost continue with the message. Yes, you've made a gesture. You've got rid of, for me, the biggest problem. But this is phase one, and this is our club, and we want better. So yeah, I'm really proud of Saturday. I think you got BBC coverage. It was Sky coverage. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. How did it look from your stand, Nocky? Or was you too busy swearing at Jose Sarr?
No, I mean, from where I sit, I've got a great view of the South Bank, and it was clear and it was obvious what was going on there, and it was actually very, very succinct as well. Everyone did it at the same time. Everyone did it exactly as it hit the 18th minute, and it worked really well. And it's a peaceful process that everyone can get involved with. It wasn't a risk to anyone. It wasn't causing anyone to miss the start of the game. We've done that piece, and now we're moving on to the next phase of it. And it kind of let the hierarchy know that we're not going away, we're not going anywhere, and we want answers to the questions that we've got. So yeah, I think credit to you for coming up with something that everyone can engage with. And again, people chose to, and some people chose not to do it, and both people are right, because it's an absolute choice whether you want to get involved in this. But it has given them that message that we're not going away and we want answers. So yeah, credit to you for doing that.
No, credit to the artists before we move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Nathan and Alex, who have been incredible, part of our All Gold Pack for a long time. So Alex is one of the co-founders with me. He doesn't necessarily like to be called out every now and again, but he definitely deserves it. And Nathan as well. So yeah, thanks to those guys for being able to come up with this stuff, because as much as I can get on and talk about all of this stuff, we have to have something to show, and it's their work that's done this. So thank you for that.
Absolutely, teamwork, dreamwork. Episode 149 of the Wolves Report. Nui, Nocky and Leicester with your fix of Christmas happiness. Now, we've got rid of Jeff Shee. What happens next? Now, this is from a good friend of mine, Wise Wolf. He's written another article that will be posted on the Wolves Report website tomorrow. This is the opening paragraph, and it gives a little bit of a flavour for this next bit. The next few weeks are going to be crucial to understanding Wolverhampton, to understanding the future of Wolverhampton Wanderers. Jeff Shee's exit at the start of a process that must emphatically conclude with the stewardship in the hands of an experienced football industry people, with no provocation about the route chosen to appoint a permanent successor. I mean, I've read this article briefly. It's going to be really good. I'm going to get out tomorrow. But this sets us up nicely now. This bit's key, isn't it now, Nocky? There can be no rinse and repeat. Surely they have to have learned this bit now, as Wise Wolf said, over the next few weeks is going to really tell us what Fosun think about Wolverhampton Wanderers and what their real intentions are.
Yeah, that's the risk, isn't it? I mean, are we swapping a she for a she? We quite literally are, but whether we're going to shake things up a little bit and try and do things differently, we absolutely have to. If we keep doing the same thing, we're going to keep getting the same results. You would like to think the fact that they've made this decision shows that they do still care about the football club and what happens to it, but they've got to almost eat a bit of humble pie and swallow their pride now and bring in somebody who really understands the game and understands how important that position is and can create those relationships back with the supporters and bring everyone back together a little bit. In a sense, we're in quite an enviable position because we know where we're going to be next season. We know which league we're going to be in. We've got an opportunity to offload some of the deadwood and maybe bring in some players who've got a little bit of fight and a little bit of bite about them. But this is absolutely massive. If they get this wrong, we know where it's going to end. They've got time to work. I'd rather they took their time and got the right person in as opposed to just rushing it and throw anybody in. I think we all know who we'd like in that position, but I'm not sure that's really achievable. But whoever it is, they've got to get it right. And it's got to be someone who understands the role and has got a good understanding of football in general and knows what we need now just to try and pull us out of the fire a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. As the opening paragraph says there, Nui, in the hands of experienced football industry people. For me, this is absolutely key. This is almost a non-negotiable. And this is why, as we've talked about, we will continue taking your lead on what we're doing and going forward, because we want better for our football club. It's been poorly run for too long. There's been some terrible decisions. How much of that's on Jeff Shee, we'll never know. It's disappointing we didn't get to speak to him, but phase one is complete. It's absolutely key that things are done properly. And as Nocky said, they don't have to rush it. We know where we are. We've got time now. We know where we are. Let's see who we can attract, get a proper football person in there and plan for next season. No other team in the Championship is going to have this much planning time.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think this is the critical bit now, like it says. We need to make sure. Well, firstly, let's be really clear around Nathan Shee. his experience when having a look at things, he's got no football experience. He's basically Jeff Shee when we started 10 years ago. So that doesn't fill me with confidence. The bit that does fill me with confidence on that is the interim bit. What I'm really hoping is happening behind the scenes right now is that they are speaking to some of those people that will be able to kind of do something, that are in the industry of football, that have been in football all of their lives and all of their careers, more importantly, and have actually achieved something and done something. Because it's proved within Fosun's tenure so far that just hasn't been the case. And actually, anybody that said no to Jeff Shee was ultimately out the door quicker than you can imagine. So yeah, I think that's where we need to go with it. And perhaps we'll now actually see more of this reset that Jeff actually spoke about. I'm not sure that within that reset he saw himself not being part of it. But it's actually a really important thing now that they realise for want of a better word, the shit that we're in right now. The balance books might look all right, and the everything from a financial point of view might look okay, I guess. But actually, let's knuckle down to the bones of it. Let's knuckle down to the football side of it. Let's make sure that we're mounting an attack and building a squad on the pitch, but then especially off the pitch as well. That's going to be able to look to do something and attract decent players, and actually be able to keep young talent within the academy and push the Wolves women to levels that we haven't seen. All of these little things that go on behind the scenes that we just need to make sure, and we need to have the faith that is actually being done, because I haven't had the faith in the backroom team for a while, which is a real shame.
You've got to be honest though and call it out, no? There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The impression I got from a few people is that there was a previous executive chairman that wanted to control everything, that wouldn't let people make their decisions, that would hear people's decisions and then end up doing his own thing. And granted, I'm sure he would have took some things on board, but I just felt like there was somebody that didn't surround him, that he did at times have experts around him, but didn't lean on them fully. Would that be fair? Nui, would you agree with that?
Yeah, and again, I think one of the other things that Jeff didn't necessarily perhaps understand was that some of the relationships that we have with the internal people at the club are that, they're relationships. We've known these people for a very long time. And those relationships come from, being loyal to your football club, being loyal to those people, not being two-faced, and actually, supporting them in their day-to-day jobs as much as they support the football club and do their jobs. So I don't think that he necessarily understood that, when he was saying some of these things about, no job losses, when ultimately we'd heard that the staff had already been told that was potentially going to be the case. And some of the other things that I've heard from other people there, it's just, it's a real shame to think that the main guy was ultimately just telling lies constantly to the fans, not necessarily understanding the feeling of the fans. So yeah, like I said, good riddance, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done to tidy up some of those messes.
Nocky, as you mentioned, we are in a right mess. I don't know this for a fact, but I know we've got this sort of 90, 100 million pound reloan after we had that 99 million pound government loan. That to me doesn't feel like a good financial position going into the Championship now. I don't really know how that will work going forward. So that doesn't sound to me like that's particularly good news. I'm not sure Wolves are making as much from other outlets of the business, should we say. Thanks, Nui. I'm not sure Wolves are making as much money elsewhere. They really need to get their house in order, Nocky, for next season. I'm concerned, and they keep emphasising phase one is complete, as I put under my name. But it is phase one, but it feels like this is phase 1 of 50.
It is a concern, which is kind of why I think they'll try and offload a few players now while their value is still high. Because you know that as soon as you hit the Championship, you're losing 10, 15, 20 million off players' value. So I can see why they do that. Look, I think there is risks around our financials, but I also think that you've got the parachute money, you've got assets that you can sell off. I think we'll be okay, but I'm not sure we can build a squad that will be competitive based on the money we're going to have left to play with. We can't really be reliant on our academy because, let's be honest, it's pretty poor. I mean, we've had Mane come through, but before that, you're going back a long way to see a player who's come through that academy. And it's even further back to go through a player who's gone through that academy and actually gone on to better things than Wolves. So we don't create a lot. And I don't think there's a lot in there now that we can rely on. So we're going to have to buy players. We're going to have to strengthen. It's whether or not we're going to have enough left in the pot to really go and do that piece, which is why I think it feels most likely that it's going to be a little bit of a relegation battle unless Fosun decide that they want to throw a bit of money into it. History tells us they're probably not going to do that. So I think if you can sell a few in the window now, get rid of some of the big earners, get rid of the players who can get you some value in, try and just patch a squad together for the rest of the season, and maybe you've got enough money to clear that loan and kind of go again. But it is a concern, definitely. And I think the problem is as well, with the way Jeff has handled things, we don't know where we are financially. There's rumours, there's things that maybe you can pick out here and there, but there's no clear, this is why we took this loan, this is how we've spent the money, this is how we're going to recoup it. You don't see any of that because the communication's been so badly lacking. So we're throwing guesses around. There may be a full strategy of how we're going to clear this. We just don't know because they don't talk to us.
Great stuff. This is episode 149 of the Wolves Report with Old Gold Paxnui, our club captain Mark Knock, and myself, Ryan Lester. Just one thing, boys, before we move on. We'll talk about getting an episode coming up. January transfer window. Now, I've seen it sort of like, Wolves are after a right wing back, they're after a centre midfielder, after a 10, after a striker. Lads, what are you doing? I'm serious now. If we go and pump out a load of money now, I'll lose my mind. I mean, if we stayed up, obviously, then I'll hold my hands up, dye my hair pink and completely apologise for everything. But I don't want Wolves spending money this window. I might be wrong, yeah. Why are we wasting a penny? If Strand Larson goes, if Agbadu goes, if Joe Gomez and Andre go, that's a chunk of money there. It's a real chunk of money. Invest it in a couple of young up-and-coming players. You can blood them in. What have we got to lose? Going out and spending loads of money now, for what reason? Any player we sign now must be prepared to play in the Championship, want to be here, and want to be ready for next season. That's the only acceptable transfers for me, guys, because otherwise I feel like now we'll be chasing, maybe get a fringe player from a foreign club, comes in, has a half a decent season, wants to go, and then we're back to square one.
They say this every window, though, don't they? I mean, every transfer window, we're going after this player, we're going to go and strengthen this position, and we very rarely do. So I'm not.
On this occasion, I hope you're right, Knocky.
I'm not overly concerned about how much money we're going to spend. Who are you going to get realistically? Who's going to want to come and have this kind of relegation on your record where you're probably going to be a member of the team that's got the new Premier League low points record? I don't see too many coming. I think you're probably going to get a few players on loan who need to get their fitness back up. You'll pick up maybe a couple of journeymen here and there, or maybe some young kids who want to have a little bit of a go at Premier League football. I don't see us going and throwing millions at it. I don't think players that you'd spend that kind of money on are going to want to come. You may hit the foreign market because those players want an opportunity to come and play in Europe, and maybe they see if they can do well for 6 months, they can get picked out by some of the Premier League teams. But I wouldn't be overly concerned, mate, because this is the same story that's a rinse and repeat from every single transfer window we have, and we always end up disappointed, don't we? So, yeah, I wouldn't worry so much about that.
Nui, just finally on that, I hope Nike's right, because I don't want him to waste money. One, recently I don't trust your transfer policy. Two, I don't want my club in financial ruin. I want my club set for next season. Do you know what? We're going down. It's going to stink. It's going to be horrible. But I'd rather be in a strong position next year when we do have some money, spare money, instead of trying to waste a bit now and trying. I'm not playing for pride anymore. I'm only focused on next season. This season is over. Get the players out who don't want to be here. Cash in. Rebuild next season. Don't waste any money in January.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the season's... I mean, to be honest, I've been saying the season's done for 4 or 5 games now.
4 or 5 seasons.
Well, yeah, to be completely honest. But again, this just points back to a contingency plan. And when you're changing manager as often as we have, and you're not, letting them kind of bed in what they want and the plans that they want and the players that they want with the scouts that they've got and everything else that's going on behind the scenes. If you've not got the backroom staff to be able to support the stuff going on the pitch, that's when you're going to you're going to struggle. And that's exactly where we are now. So yeah, I completely agree. I don't think that they should go out and start spending on players that probably just want a payday or whatever.
You might get a few fringe players that have got a World Cup coming up that are on the edge of the World Cup squads that need regular minutes. That's probably it. If those players are loan players, I'm all right with that. Give us a few fast players to come in, let them play for their World Cup place. Fine. I don't want to waste a penny this window unless that player is guaranteed to be good in the Championship and he wants to be here. Let's not waste any time. Let's go back briefly now, gents, to the post-game interview with Matt Doherty. So I want to bring these questions up first. I think there's a question up here I want to bring up, and I can get the video up then that I've taken now if it's still here. Maybe I'll have to, can't find it, so we'll have to find that in a bit anyway. Anyway, let's move on to some questions. Chris Fisher says, nice, got something to listen to on my holiday drive. Let's make it a peppy pod, gents. Sorry, mate, if you're listening back. Merry Christmas, though, Chris.
So we're going to pep that
up. Chris, always. Nice Christmas, though, Chris.
Yeah, and it sounds like a nice holiday drive for Christmas as well. So yeah, Chris, all the way over in America, probably enjoying better the weather than we are. Here we go. I found the thing I was looking for. Carl says, what did you think about the statement that Doc put out in the media about the team, and who do you think he's calling out? For those who've not seen it, courtesy of Sky Sports, this is a clip I've taken from them via Sky Sports.
Some soul searching and have a look in the mirror and just figure out what we want to be remembered for at the club. Do we want to be remembered for fighting all the way to the end of the season, or do we want to be remembered for being cowards and taking maybe the easy option out and maybe trying to leave in January, or letting other people not fighting and letting other people take your position and stuff like that. So we need to figure out. We need to look at ourselves in the mirror and figure out how we want to be remembered at the club.
Now, for me, I've criticised Matt Doherty a lot. I don't think some of his performances have been great. I wasn't sure when he came back. What can't be questioned is how much Matt Doherty cares. Now, some people may question that's not what a captain does. In this situation, for me, that's exactly what a captain does, Knocker.
That's exactly what I want to see from my captain. That's exactly what I want to see. And yeah, should you be publicly calling players out? Yes, you absolutely should. We're on 2 points after 17 games, and he's been completely honest. And you can see he looks so hurt in that video. He looks so upset. And as a fan, I want to see my players upset. I don't want to see them swanning off and swapping shirts with people and having a good natter before they come off the pitch. I don't want to see any of that. I want to see them look upset, and I want to see that maybe they care about what's going on in a similar way that we do. So he was honest. I've mentioned coward a few times on this podcast, and I've always thought, is it a little bit too much?
Usually to Neil Tyler, though.
Yeah. I really don't think it is, because I think the performances we've put in, and I said it earlier on, I'll say it again, I don't think this squad is bad enough to be on 2 points. You can only be there if you're not putting it in on the pitch, and these players clearly aren't, and they're hiding. So I think there are some cowards in there, and I think there'll be a lot of them try and get out the door in January. And I'm not against that if they do, because you don't want those kind of players in your squad. But I really like the fact that Matt Doherty stepped up and called that out. I think it's important that there is some accountability. It's very easy to hide away as a player. It's very easy just to put the blinkers up and pretend it's somebody else's fault. So one thing I do find interesting, though, is that the fact he's called that out and said about people leaving, he must know that there's already those conversations happening. He must know that those players have hinted towards it. So he's aiming that at people specifically. But I think that's the right thing to do, especially if you're the captain, because you need to be addressing these kind of things, and people need to go out on that pitch, and you've all got to be moving in the same direction, because if you're not, you get the kind of performances that we're seeing at the moment. So whether you agree with it or not, that's your choice. But for me, well done, Matt Doherty. I think that was the right thing to do.
Yeah, it's funny how we started the show with Lee Naylor, Nui, telling us they were all trying their best. But an actual player's coming out, he's pretty much said not everyone's trying their best. Not everyone's giving it all. Some people are hiding. He's alluding to some people being cowards and people trying to get away in January. So, as I said at the start, I don't believe you, Lee Naylor. But yeah, I'm guessing you're with Nocky as well on this one, Nui.
100%. And do you know what? If anybody is in a position to be able to say something like that as well, it's Matt Doherty. Like, he's been at the club for so long. All right, bar the time that he went off to Spurs and had a little bit of a holiday. But he's Wolves through and through. You know, he's been here for a long, long time. He's seen the good times and he's seen the bad times, and he's been there as ultimately as fans the same way that we have. So fair play, Doc. Come out, call those people out, and you can only imagine who he's talking about, you know, in those specific little digs. But actually, I hope that some of those digs have rang true. And you know, if you are a player that isn't you know, potentially giving their all in training, or is happy to, you know, let your place in the team go by, then you don't deserve to be here. You don't deserve to be playing for a club like Wolverhampton Wanderers anyway. So yeah, fair play for calling it out. And actually, that's what I want to see more of. You know, from a club captain, but especially from somebody like Doc, who has earned the right ultimately to be able to say that. Look, he's not the best player. He'd probably be one of the first to come out and say that he's not, you know, the strongest player in the team, but he doesn't, you know, pull his tackles. He doesn't shirk his responsibilities. He tries. So yeah, he's earned his right to be able to say that for me.
Yeah,
that was a yes. I do agree with Nocky.
Oh, I wasn't sure he was on the fence or not, but Carl Whitehouse, thank you for that, and obviously acknowledging to Sky Sports for that clip as well. Carl, thank you for your fantastic question, and obviously again, well done, Matt Doherty. If he's captain the rest of the season, Matt, deck a few people, give us a bit of pride back, and keep letting them know. Well done.
That's exactly the point, though, isn't it? You show a little bit of pride in your shirt. I mean, it's very easy to come into a Wolves and think, well, it's a stepping stone because so many people have used it. You've got such a responsibility when you're in that shirt, because it's a legacy. It's one of the founding members of the Football League. It's the club that bought European football. It's a club where you know, it's steeped in history of a working class background, and you're representing not just the players now and yourself. You're representing the history of the club. You're Billy Wright, your Steve Bulls, John Richards, players like that. You've got that responsibility. So when you come in and you do those kind of hiding away and pulling out of tackles, you're not just insulting us now as a fan base. You're insulting the entire history of one of the great football clubs of this country. So there needs to be more accountability. There needs to be more responsibility. And if we're going to go down swinging, go down fighting, go down showing like you care about the shirt, what they're doing at the moment is absolutely appalling. It is abysmal, the performances they're putting in. If they had anything about them, all of their wages from that Brentford game would have gone into a local charity, because they didn't deserve to pick them up. So I want to see a little bit more from them. And if Matt Doherty can come out and do more of that and call some people out and drag a few people over the coals and make a bit of an impact, then I'm all for it, because it's about time they stopped acting like these pampered prima donnas who get paid millions and millions of pounds to kick the football around a pitch, and actually started working for their money and showing a little bit of pride in the shirt.
What I'm waiting for at Compton at the end of the week, he's playing this clip of a man in a Santa outfit dishing out a bollock into the whole squad.
Can I just say as well, actually, on the Lee Naylor thing, I've still not forgiven him for giving the ball away at Bolton away all those years.
Oh, man. Mate,
so
that
don't call us out, mate, because I can keep calling out all the
Alex Ray scored the greatest goal I've seen live that day.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, other than probably Neves, well, it's probably the cleanest strike I've ever seen. I mean, not even the match of the day camera caught up with it. But anyway, I didn't think we'd be talking about Bolton away.
Why did Naylor do that, by the way? Why did he do that? Just throw the ball the other direction, just lob it away, or just completely ignore it? I've never understood that. You've made me angry again now, Louis. I'm in a Santa suit and I'm angry. That's your fault.
Sorry, mate. Lee Naylor made me angry, so I had to get that.
Well, wait until you listen to the podcast. So episode 149 of the Wolves Report with Nui, Nocky, and myself, Ryan Lester. One more question, I think, and then we'll. This is a good one for you, Nui. Actually, we can probably both talk about this, but you can definitely lead on it. One for Nui. Where do we go from here? Posters were good, but maybe not the strongest way of sending a message. Understand, big message. Love the work so far. Keep the focus and pressure up, Nui.
Yeah, thank you for the heads up on that. I mean, obviously, there's not everybody got involved with it, and actually, I think for the people that were in the ground, and you know, looking around and not necessarily seeing as many of those posters around was potentially a little bit disheartening. But actually, you know, I posted about this on socials as well. It was picked up on local, national, and international TV. It was shown everywhere. People were talking about it again. So I don't think it's necessarily about it's not necessarily about the size of the demo, if you like, but as long as it's actually seen and it got people talking about it again. And I think that was the key thing. So images like this, and images that were shown around the world live on television, are the ones that are going to make the difference. But yeah, I mean, your main point in that is, where do we go from here? And we said it when Jeff Shee had gone. We put out a statement to say that, although we welcome this from Fosun, it's not going to be the end. There's lots more questions that need to be answered. There's lots more stuff that we need to know about planning. There's lots more stuff we need to know about what's going on behind the scenes. And these are conversations that we want to be able to, we want the public to be able to see. We want everybody to be able to kind of have an understanding, because that isn't something that we've had from Fosun since Laurie's days. And, we don't want those scripted interviews, and we don't want edited videos, and we don't want edited meeting notes from the
just transparency. If it's bad news, we can take it. I don't mind bad news, but be honest, I might not like the bad news, but we're going to be a hell of a lot more angrier if it's not the truth, and then we find out, Knocker.
Yeah, sorry, just before we do go off this question as well, I did see a question that came through earlier on, just saying about have the club stopped OGP doing the flags at the game? No, they haven't. They haven't said really either way on what that is. However, we took a decision once we kind of put our necks on the line at the Man United game that it wasn't the best time for us to be continuing to do flags and banners and stuff. Just for whatever reason, because it's a lot of work and we're a really small team to be able to do all of this stuff.
It's grown though this week, hasn't it, Nui?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, say that again.
It's grown this week, hasn't it, your team?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. But we'll get back to the flags, and we'll get back to everything else there when the time's right. Like I said, we want to support the team, we want to support the players. What we don't want to do is necessarily be caught up in any controversy around other flags or banners that were brought into the game. So yeah, take from that what you will. But no, the club haven't stopped us doing flags and banners, just in answer to that.
And just one other thing in terms of the question. So I didn't get the user's name upon that question. I got it quickly before the show started. Is that, I mean, the groups are still talking, Nui. There's obviously the Wolves Report, which is myself, the Old Gold Package that sort of headed this thing. And many people are speaking behind the scenes about new steps, and those talks will continue. And when everyone talks and agrees, we will go forward and continue in one way or another. So this is, for us, that Man United game showed what we are capable of coming together. But as Nui very much said, this is only the beginning, and things need to change, because otherwise it's going to continue. Fair, Nui?
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this on the last podcast that I was on with you guys as well. It doesn't take much for us to be able to come up with these ideas and then get them out there. It doesn't take long. And yes, we are having those conversations currently around, what are the plans going to be going forward, and what do we do? But actually, some of the best plans kind of come out pretty much the last minute around, what we want to do. Sometimes my brain doesn't work until closer to the game. Yeah, there's lots of stuff that's in there. We just need to make sure it's the right thing to do. But as long as we keep getting the support, and the support grows from the fan base, and there's a want from the fan base to continue doing this, then I'm more than happy to keep doing it.
And just a nod as well, Nui, for Saturday. I think roughly 2,000 or so of those leaflets came out. When on my side, they were gone well before kickoff, and that shows a real appetite. I think you mentioned earlier on about the difference between things going around, but there's a real appetite going forward for this now. People have seen what togetherness can do. So yeah, absolutely fantastic, and credit to you, Nui, for all your work so far. So yeah, I'm great to be a small part of that. So yeah, absolutely delighted. It's episode 149 of the Wolves Report with OGP's Nui, Captain Mark Knock, and myself, Ryan Lester. On Saturday afternoon, not quite Boxing Day. Wolves can't ruin your Boxing Day this year. Don't worry about it. I'm sure they'll find a way. Wolverhampton Wanderers go to Anfield. Oof, it's okay. Stephen Ward scored there about 15 years ago, didn't he, Knock, in a famous Wolves 1-0 victory. A little bit different this time, though. Gents, start off with you, Knocky. This is a really tough game. Granted, they're not the force they were last year. They've got a few players out, but they're still night and day above Wolves. I haven't got any hope at all. The only hope I've got is they treat it like the Arsenal and the Villa game, and there's that kind of effort and togetherness and that stability they can offer in a performance, very much unlike the home games.
I mean, it's going to be defeat number 11 in a row, isn't it? There's not much doubt of that. You don't really have to play well to beat Wolves, and they've got some very, very dangerous players. You can hang a bit of hope on it, can't you? I think we beat them. I think it was in the 70s when we were dropping through the leagues, and we were absolutely rancid, and we managed to go there and win. Stephen Ward scored there, and we won. But generally, Liverpool tend to beat us, don't they? I think we've only beaten them once since we returned back to the Premier League. That's when we beat them 3-0 at Molineux. I think you'd have to be very, very optimistic to see anything other than a relatively heavy defeat. The only thing that gives me a little bit of hope is that there's a lot of games in this period. So hopefully they'll kind of get a couple of goals and declare and just settle on 2 or 3. But it's not going to be a pleasant afternoon for us, I think. I don't know. I don't see anything. I don't see any way we can get anything out of this game, unfortunately. I just hope that he's positive in the way that he sets us up. And yes, we've got to be solid. We've got to be quite defensive-minded. But let's give Tolo a run. Let's see if he can hold the ball up and cause a bit of trouble for the Liverpool defence. I'd even be tempted to start Mane, and I've said that I wouldn't start him yet because I don't think he's ready, but I'd even be tempted to start him because he's a little bit of energy and just try and maybe give the fans something to hold on to, because we'll feel that away end out. We always do. But it could be a very bleak afternoon, especially if they score early.
Absolutely. Nui, I just want to jump onto Noki's point there about Tolo. Now, I don't understand how Tolo didn't start, because for me, when your substitutions come on, they impact a game, you reward them with a start. That's what you do with the squad. If someone's not playing well, your replacement comes on and they score a goal, you start that person. But the fact that Tolo got less than 15 minutes at the end of the Brentford game, the fact that Strand Larsen played the whole game. Now, there's talk of whether Rob Edwards was trying to protect him. Now, no offence, Rob, you're here to protect Wolverhampton Wanderers, not one player. We're upset and we want our best players playing. You may rate Strand Larsen, but Tolo looks a hell of a lot more confident. As Noki said earlier on, first thing he did was win the ball, win a challenge. He tried to do something in the box. For me, Nui, this is a non-negotiable, and Rob Edwards could really get himself in a lot of trouble by not starting Tolo. That's not a threat or trying to cause trouble. It's just like we're at the state now when you have to start this guy up front.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't know what he's got to do. If he doesn't start on Saturday, then yeah, I don't really know. I don't know what else he can do. However, I was going to say Strand Larsen hat-trick on Saturday, but yeah, no, Tolu's got to start for me. I think it's really important that he gets a chance now, and even if that's half or he gets 60, 65 minutes, I think he's got to be given that chance. Let's be honest, it is one of those free hit games for us. We've had a lot of those free hit games this season.
17 so far.
Yeah, it is definitely a free hit this weekend. But I mean, I'll be there, and I'm hoping to, at least, like you said, they're not going to ruin Boxing Day. But I think it'll be good to see some Wolves fans up there and see what else we can do.
Absolutely. We are at that time of show where we're going to do some predictions. Now, we talked about this the other week, and I'm not putting it for no reason whatsoever. I'm just looking at the shirt. So I'm going to put it up for the end of the show because it's so beautiful. So it is prediction time, Noki. Wolverhampton Wanderers away at Anfield. There's a new little jingle, Noki. So I'm going to do the jingle, and I want you to do your first scorer and prediction. Oh, that's not Noki. That's not very nice, is it? Here we go, Noki.
I'll go 4-0 Liverpool. Ekitike with the first goal.
got new toys, haven't I? Nui, hang on.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say 3-0 Liverpool. Unfortunately. Someone else, I've just noticed a quick question there about whether there's any plans for Diogo on Saturday. And yet there are discussions with Liverpool at the moment. I'm trying my best to be able to get one of the Diogo banners up there for Saturday. So keep an eye on our socials for that. So I'll let you know.
Absolutely. Again, great work from the old goal pack. I've been stung so many times recently by Wolverhampton Wanderers. I've been in that group chat. I told the boys we'd beat Forest. I told the boys we'd beat Brentford. And they've done it. but after this last game, I've got no hope whatsoever. However, on my podcast, I refuse to predict Wolverhampton Wanderers to lose. So we'll go with the most ambitious 0-0. Their most ambitious 0-0. That is all I've got. Just a quick shout out to everybody as well. We've currently got 1,819 live listeners. I'm honoured. That's incredible. Nui comes on, gives his time up, as does Tyler. Knocky are ever present. I'm humbled by that many people watching. I'm glad you like the show. We try and bring a bit of humour. We're all here suffering together. It's great to get Nui on to sort of talk about the great work he's done. I mean, who doesn't want Knocky dressed up as Santa? You didn't think you needed that on Monday night. Who does not want that? Anyway, this is episode 149 of the Wolves Report. Thank you so much for your support through the year. I can't wait to talk about Wolves win at Liverpool. Hey, up the Wolves.